CSIS is trending today because of new details on allegations of foreign interference in Canada. A Conservative MP asking today in the House of Commons how it could be possible that the Prime Minister wasn't briefed by the intelligence agency on alleged threats made to the member's family living in Hong Kong.
Mr. Speaker, CSIS has been advising the government, the departments, the Privy Council Office, the National Security Advisor, deputy ministers, that foreign agents in Canada, foreign diplomats in Canada are presenting a threat to Canadian MPs in this House of Commons. So why is the government not listening to the advice of CSIS and not listening to the advice in the reports that are being distributed here?
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the Canadian Security Intelligence Service failed to share information about threats China allegedly made against Conservative MP Michael Chong and his family members living in Hong Kong.
CSIS made the determination that it wasn't something that needed to be raised to a higher level because it wasn't a significant enough concern. That's why they chose to give direct defensive briefings to the MP in question, but they didn't feel that it was necessary to do anything else.
While Chong and the Conservatives aren't convinced, the matter has sparked more calls for a public inquiry into foreign interference and for the expulsion of a Chinese diplomat implicated in the alleged plot to intimidate Chong and his family. And it's raising questions about the safety of Canadian politicians.
Why are they defending Beijing instead of a Canadian member of Parliament? When will the Prime Minister finally apologize for the unconscionable attitude of his political party?
Trudeau says he has since instructed CSIS to inform any MPs of any threats made against them, regardless of whether they are considered credible. Meanwhile, Trudeau's brother testified yesterday that the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation has not been part of any foreign interference attempts by China, as the organization continues to be dogged by questions about controversial donations. Alexander Trudeau said he wants the truth to come out, saying that the donations from Chinese businessmen were negotiated before his brother became Prime Minister.
We're wasting our time on the notion of interference. I have seen no trace of it.
But
I don't think there was a
that's not up for you to decide,
correct,
sir.
Correct.
And unfortunately, when it comes to things like interest and conflict of interest, pecuniary interest, you know, it's as much as the perception as it is the reality.
Prime Minister Trudeau has repeatedly said that it has been about a decade since he had any involvement with the foundation. Joining us now is political science professor emeritus Jeremy Paltiel from Carleton University. Professor, the Prime Minister says he only found out about MP Chong's threats recently, 2 years after CSIS revealed the intelligence. Why would CSIS withhold this information?
I have no idea. The whole role of CSIS in this whole affair is mystifying to me. Why there were leaks to particular journalists who have had a long time beat in criticizing Canada's China policy, the Globe and Mail and Global. That in itself is a form of interference. If an agency of the government is trying to embarrass the government of the day, that's mystifying. Then this news today that there were specific threats against a sitting MP that were not handled properly is also mystifying. It seems to me that there does need to be some more in-depth look at this problem. Well, this was, I mean, the news that I just read said that it was brought to his national security advisor, and why that would not be passed on by the security advisor to the Prime Minister also is mystifying for me. And so that the whole affair is mystifying in that sense. It's two sides of it are mystifying. One is there specific threats against thing, and the other part is that somebody within CSIS is trying to embarrass the Prime Minister, has been trying to embarrass the Prime Minister. That itself is also wrong.
The Conservatives are calling for a public inquiry on this matter, insisting that the Prime Minister withheld this information from MP Chong. What do you see as a reasonable way to right this wrong, so to speak?
Well, right now there's a small inquiry, sort of kind of private, with the former Governor General Johnston. I suppose the first thing is we have to see is what comes out of that, to see how thorough that is, how much information is missing, and what he himself says. I think he's held in high esteem by both the government and opposition. So that would be the first step. And if there needs to be a public inquiry, I think that it does need to examine both what the nature of the Chinese interference, if it was, and also its handling by CSIS and its relationship and the handling by the government of the day. I mean, the question of foreign interference in itself is and the nature of it is a little bit. I mean, I think. Let's put things in perspective. All diplomats and all governments of the thing have an interest in the outcome of an election when they come to it. The question is not whether they have an interest in the outcome of the election. It's the question of what they do about it.
Trudeau's brother testified yesterday regarding controversial donations made to the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation. He repeatedly said there was absolutely no foreign interference. What do you make of the situation?
Well, the question is it's a label, right? I mean, this may be somebody connected with China who's trying to curry favor with the Trudeau family. That certainly may be the Chinese government or some people in China trying to curry favor with a particular person, but it's not necessarily illegal in itself, and it's not necessarily interference in the election process. It's smelly, but it's not necessarily illegal.
Thanks so much for joining us, Professor.
Thank you.